He feels it in his bones, Gino. That's Young Guns and Bones. How you doing there, Gino?
Oh, it's pretty perfect.
That's
right
good,
there.
good. How you doing? What do you mean?
The Young Guns, they'll be coming to town along with a special guest.
Who?
Breaking Benjamin.
No way.
Yeah.
Really, Young Guns? See, I forget these things. You know, I write them down, and then there's notes all over the studio. I have to be reminded and whatnot. And, you know, guess who we have on the phone right now?
Someone.
Live, ladies and gentlemen. We have Mr. Benjamin Burnley.
What?
Of Breaking
Benjamin.
Perfect timing.
How you doing there? Hey, man, how's
Good,
your...
man. How are you guys?
Thank you so much for putting aside your toast and coffee to call the two
Your
guys
breakfast sushi.
in the morning.
My tea and crumpet.
Oh, you didn't hear? We're English now. The mighty Vesuvius. So, have you seen that movie, The Rocker?
No. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's such a fantastic movie.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out. It's been a few years.
We just saw Jaws, so we're a little late.
We're a VHS town.
Yeah,
We like to stick to that.
it's Corpus.
There's another really awesome movie you should check out. It's called E.T.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I've
really?
heard good things about that. Drew Barrymore, going far.
I hear good things.
Extra testicle.
Extra testicle.
I
That's
hear-
what it is.
I hear Poltergeist is good too.
Benjamin, go towards the ladder. You're going to get a spanking.
If you're into that kind of thing, yeah.
Hey, so now the pre-order for your new album, Dark Before Dawn. When did you guys put this thing together?
Well, it's something that I kind of, I've been the primary writer for the band pretty much since its inception. So it's just kind of followed suit with, my sort of process that I did with all my other albums. And, I didn't take the whole 6 years to write it. I just kind of took some time off from everything. And when everything got geared up, I grabbed the, guitar and started to jam out these tunes. And, it's just like I said, I've kind of not really changed my process of writing.
Yeah.
So it pretty much was kind of the same as the other ones, except for, this one and Dear Agony are the only two that I've done completely sober. So that's like the only difference. And really the only thing that adds to is that just a little more like clarity in the lyrics.
Yeah.
And more like intentful music. Like I think before when things really worked out, it was kind of like a happy accident. Like when lyrically or musically a riff would come around or something would, fit really well. But now it's like completely intentional and it's, worked on 5 times harder. And so it's more of a, purposeful effort.
Now, when you would write music before, would it be sort of like an interesting surprise the next day because maybe you didn't remember the fact that you wrote something that was brilliant? Or, would you ever surprise yourself the next day and you'd go, wow, this is some really weird stuff that I wrote?
I would definitely be surprised in the sense that, I didn't really, remember it to the finest details of it.
Yeah.
I would remember it, but not little things I don't remember I went to that fret there and that's pretty cool and that kind of stuff. So it's I guess when I was drinking it was the same thing as what I do now. It's just I would go on autopilot and my brain would still do the same thing. I just didn't really pay attention to it.
What did you think sort of caused you to drink so much? Because everybody that I know, they drink, and then there's some people who they have that thing in them, and they just can't stop. Was there something for you that would trigger that in you that would make you go, I'm going to drink until I'm obliterated over here, instead of having that little signaler that goes, okay, stop?
Well, I've always been the kind of I guess it's like when you have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
You don't have that thing that says, okay, stop. And for me, I lived my life, and I still do in some ways, that I live my life every day is my last, and if I want to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I would literally be sitting there at work before the band even took off, and I'd be like, you know what? because I worked like for my family,
Yeah.
and I worked like off in a side room by myself. So I'm like, you know what? I could have a shot right now, and nobody would know.
That's how we feel over here.
Yeah, so
No,
I
like
did,
normal.
you know. So I did, and that's just kind of how I lived. And then, when you get into a band, like, not only do you have to not hide drinking, it's kind of encouraged.
Yeah, that's true.
So I went for it, man. I was just like, I could be drunk right now, so I'm going to. And I enjoyed it for, what it was. It's definitely not good for you. I don't recommend it to anybody, but a lot of good came out of it and a lot of bad came out of it.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things in life that a lot of people go through. And, it's just one of those things that you have to learn the lesson yourself. Like 1,000 people can try to help you or tell you to, cool it off. But if you don't listen to yourself, you're just not going to do it. So.
It's like anything else. You could equate to what you just said to anybody who's like ever dieted before. You're not ready to diet until you're ready to diet. You're not ready to stop smoking until you decide you want to really stop smoking for yourself. And I think that sometimes it's necessary to go through the stages like you said, because nobody ever really learns from anybody's advice. You learn these things by hitting your own head, not by somebody beating you over the head with what their knowledge was or what their past was or whatever it was. And the thing about addictive personalities, even hearing you speak right now, and even things that any of us have done. I mean, some of the best times in your life that you describe could be one of your drunken stupors. And I think that it's okay to look back at that and speak of it and almost romanticize those times, because...
Oh, for sure. I mean, just because you have a problem or you have problems going on in your life or you're a drinker, it doesn't mean that it's all bad, and it doesn't need it doesn't need to be marked as a wasted part of your life. You could still celebrate it, maybe not all of it, but there's definitely moments in there that you can, I wouldn't say be proud of, but be glad that you lived the way you lived it.
Well, sure. I mean, if you look back at, great rock bands, the 60s and 70s and 80s and whatnot, and just all the debauchery that took place, you look back and you go, okay, cool, I had my debauchery, and then finally, at this point in my life, I decided to tap the brakes and become something more productive. So there you go.
Sure. Well, unfortunately for me, though, I mean, I quit because I started to have lasting, permanent damage to my body. So I had to cut it back and stop.
Wow.
Really, that was really what did it. I didn't make a conscious effort to stop. It was just like, I feel like I'm literally going to die.
Really?
And and I'm still kind of sick. I'm still kind of sick from it because I've done like permanent damage to my body. So that definitely isn't worth any good time. But
any romance out of that deal,
No, but I do believe that every little single teeny tiny minuscule detail about life leads you to where you are. And I'm in the best place that I've ever been with my personal and professional life. So every decision I've made led me here. So for that, I think it's, justifiable and,
Now, when you let me look at the music here for a second. Is it weird for artists now? Because way back when a CD would come out or an LP or whatever, it was almost like a story you would follow from the beginning of an album to the end. Sometimes there was a story that would take place for you, and people took, when you really literally would listen to all the lyrics and go through it and whatnot. Is it harder for you now? Or for artists now to have to always write that one great tune that'll get played on the radio, or will get downloaded a billion times on iTunes, or will get ripped off or stolen or whatever, that one hit instead of the story, the peaks and the valleys. Like when you'd listen to an old Rush disc, you'd get that sensation of you were going on sort of a journey with them from one place to another.
A mystical journey.
Yeah.
A mystical journey.
What is it like for you now to write music knowing that people are just ripping a page out of your...
It's like single-serving rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to go grab that one flavor.
I come from, the school of, Nirvana, and so my musical sort of background is just that. And so that's kind of how Kurt Cobain wrote, where everything was kind of like its own sort of thing, but it was kind of strung together by a common theme of overall angst and somewhat of despair and that kind of thing. So that I can't really speak for other artists and their epic creations or their, whatever it is. I could only really comment on, things that have sort of influenced me. And just because I come up in that school of Nirvana and the grunge era, of when I really started to like learn music and know music and like music, that's kind of what I base all my writing and everything that I do and everything that I like off of, because people, I think nowadays have forgotten, the newer generations have sort of forgotten about how actually melodic that music is and how it's structured, that it's heavy, but it's still got great melody. And that's kind of what Breaking Benjamin's a lot about, what we try to do. And so I try to keep it all self-contained, but yet have an overall sort of theme for all of it, where if you had an imagination that, was suited to, if you wanted, basically what I'm saying is like, if you wanted to string it all together, you probably could find a way, just like you could with a Nirvana album or an Alice in Chains album. But if you wanted them to stand alone, they could do that too. And I always have people coming up to me telling me what they think songs are about. May not necessarily be what I had in my mind, but I think it's even better to hear what other people, I love when other people tell me their interpretation of it. And so I think it's the same thing. I mean, somebody might connect the whole thing so it is one thing. You know what I mean? You never know.
Yeah. That's got to be cool for you as an artist to have somebody walk up and go, here's where I was in this period of my life. Here's what I was doing, and your music inspired me to get through that. Or I was in this relationship when this happened, that kind of thing.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. I mean, that's the whole, honestly, that's 100% why I do what I do, to hear that kind of stuff and to hear that you're actually making a difference in helping some people. It's just it's a gift.
Is there a song that you guys do live, or that you I mean, I know there's like your set list and whatnot, and yes, generally you love all of your music and you love everything you're going to play. Are there songs that give me like a song that you really look forward to playing for people?
Well, even though it was like a really big, like, single, I still never get tired of Diary of Jane. I really love playing. The song's really fun to play, like as a guitar player. It's really fun to sing. It's powerful. It reminds me of a good time in my life. Because, people listen to Breaking Benjamin songs and they sit, and like you said, it reminds them of a time in their life. Well, they remind me of a time in my life, too.
Yeah.
And there's some songs where I wasn't really the happiest or in the greatest of places, and those songs remind me of those times. And then there's songs like Diary of Jane. I mean, everything, when Diary of Jane came out, everything in my life was fantastic. I had, recently met, not long before, my wife, that's my wife now. And, stuff was like, that was when, for me, stuff was like really, really coming together in my life. So it reminds me of that. And so every time I'm on stage and I play that, there's a little bit of hint. There's a little hint of what it was like when I wrote it, what it was like when I did the video, what it was like when I recorded it. So It was a really good time. It was a really, really good time.
Well, we can't wait to see you play here in Corpus Christi. And I'm going to play that song right now, Breaking Benjamin, The Diary of Jane. Benjamin Burnley, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for calling us this morning.
Thanks, guys. And I appreciate you supporting the new single, Failure too. I'm really stoked to get out there and play it. The band hasn't played it yet.
Well, tell you what, I'm going to play The Diary of Jane, and then I'm going to play Failure. So I'm going to play them.
Nice.
I'm going to play them both.
Man.
Because we do what we want around here.
A twofer. We call that a twofer.
All right, man. Hey, have a fantastic morning, and we'll see you when you get to town.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.